Okay, good morning, guys. So today I'm going to show you how we're going to use Storyboard that as part of our Jamestown Social Studies assignment. So I'm going to show you how to use it, but I'm going to show you specifically some things that you need to know for that assignment. So we're going to create a storyboard. All right. And do you want to keep working on this storyboard? Okay, you can have to ignore that because I had an old one. So anyway, so here we are. And when you come into it, the first thing you're going to see are these boxes, and it's always going to start with 3. And these are what's called your cells. So each cell is like a scene in your story. So like if you're doing a graphic novel, each box would be one of those little pictures where the action is happening. Okay, so those are your cells. Down here at the bottom, you have things related to your cells. You have the layout, you can add delete cells, you can move cells, and you can copy cells, okay? What we're going to worry about right now is just a couple things. So layout, number 1, in your instructions, you need a narrative or description box. So this is just a plain cell. This is a title. This one has a box below where you can type in for description, and then this has both. We are just going to focus right now on this one. So if I click on this one and I go back here, it's added a description box on the bottom where I can type my information that goes with my scene that I'm going to be creating. So if I click on that, then this shows up. Okay, so you can bold your font, you can change your font, you can change the size of it, you know, and different stuff like that. So when you click in it, you can start typing. Whoops, this is where the information goes. Okay, very simple. You click on it, you start typing, you're done. We're not worrying about fonts or font colors or anything like that. I don't want to see anything in this back box other than a white background. You could change the background by doing this and it will change the color of your background. But since I don't have a color printer, it's not really going to help anything. And it makes it a little bit harder to read. So right now, since we're just starting, leave it white. Type in there, good to go, okay? So when you're doing your project and it tells you to explain what's going on, to give facts, the facts are going to go down here. Up here, oh, there's one more thing we have to do though, because in your project, you're going to need more than 3 cells. You need at least 4. So if we go down here to where it says add or delete cells, and we can change the layout, but you can only change it with the same number on top and bottom. So you could go 6 cells all the way across, but if you do that, they get smaller because they have to fit on the paper. So what would be recommended is if you were going to do 6 cells, you would do 3 and then 3. They'll be bigger. You have to do at least 4. So if I click over here and I do 2 underneath, it's going to get rid of that one. That one turns red. So I can do a row of 2 and a row of 2. Or if I know I'm going to do more, I'm going to do a row of 3 and a row of 3. You have to do them in if you do one row and another row, there has to be the same amount. So if you did it this way and you only did 5, you would have 1 empty cell, but that's okay. Because if you do it this way, you can do 5, but they get really small. So you're better to just do 6, and then, you know, if you don't use all 6, it's okay. All right. So you want to think about how many cells you might have at first to start with, because it gets a little tricky if you have to move around cells after the fact or add them after the fact. So I'm going to click Update My Storyboard, and now I have 2 rows of 3 to work with. First thing we have to do is we have to come up here and enter a scene. So you'll see up here you have all these names. If you click on them, it'll give you different types of scenes. We are going to be learning about Jamestown, so we're looking at historical scenes or history or outdoor. Okay, so when they first get to Jamestown and they pull up the James River, maybe it looks something like this, and you just click on it and drag it in there. There are some things that you can change on that scene. You can flip it if you want the river on the other side. Okay, you can edit the scene. You can change it to night. You can make it snow, or you can make it rain. You can make it sunset. Okay, clear skies, back to daytime. So there's little fun things that you can do there. If I was going to do, let's go historical, this is more kind of like stuff back in Europe, castles and different things like that. But there are some things in here that could work for Jamestown if you wanted to show them on the ship You could bring a ship into one of the scenes. The houses that they used in Jamestown when they first started there were pretty crude. They didn't really have very many fancy houses. They just put up stuff quickly. So you could pull down something like this, although those are more like jungle huts, but those would kind of be okay. Or we can go to U.S. history, some Native American scenes, another ship, some churches. This might be an even better idea of what their houses may have looked like. We're not going to be using something like this because in the Jamestown that we're studying, there are not nice houses like that yet. And even when people started making money, they just threw up kind of quick wood houses. There are some scenes which if you wanted to show the inside, you could use something like that, just basic, okay? So those are kind of pretty much the scenes that are going to work for yours. If we go back to outdoor, if you wanted to show them farming, you could pull, you know, a scene with some grass down and you can kind of do it that way. All right, so that is how that works. If you want to add characters to your scene, up here you click characters. And again, you have all these different categories: adults, teens, kids, jobs, sports, 1900s, 1600s to 1800s. That's where you're going to find your characters for Jamestown. So these guys this would be the correct soldier. So if you were talking about a soldier, this would work. This guy would work, okay? Or even this guy. You could bring them in there. Whoops, a little too far ahead. Regular people in Jamestown, you could bring down. She would be okay. She would be okay. There weren't a lot of women at first though, so you'd need some men. And so these two guys would work out pretty good. All right, and even this one maybe for somebody important. He kind of looks like what we would call a pilgrim, right? So, and if you need to use multiple people, but they all look the same, you can change things about them. So if I click on him, I can change his hair color. I can change his skin color. I can change his eye color, not that you can tell. Shirt color. And socks. Shoes. So if I needed a bunch of different people, I could use the same person and just change that stuff on them. I can change how they're standing. So I can face them backwards. Let's see him moving over here. Right, left. I can change his arms. Oh no, look over there. His hand's in my pocket. Okay, it can make him sitting, kneeling, change the position of his head, the expression on his face, okay? And then there we go. All right, so that's kind of how I deal with my characters. So those, oh, and one more thing, textables. So your characters need to speak in each scene, or at least think something that has to do with what we've learned. So let's move over here. Oh, you can make your characters bigger and smaller by clicking on them. So if you want some to look far away, you could make them smaller, and then this guy's closer to the water, so he could be maybe not that big, but a little bit bigger. Textables, that's where your speech bubbles come in. So you can different size speech bubbles, and you also have thought bubbles, okay? So your characters need to either think something or say something in each sentence that has to do with what you've learned. So let's get a speech bubble here. And you can change the size of the speech bubble again by clicking on the corners. And just click on it to type in it. You say, this looks like a good spot by the river. And then you can have this guy answer, and he could say, well, he needs to make his box a little smaller because he's in the back. We know that they had problems getting sick, so if I wanted to add something to the picture that would also give information, I could say, yeah, but won't the swampy water make us sick? Okay, and if it doesn't all fit in there, you got spell check, by the way, if you noticed. I can make it a little bit bigger to fit all my text. All right, so those are the things that you can do. You can also add things to your scenes. So, you know, you're not going to use any of those, but shapes, textable scenes, characters, more. but you can find different things. So like if you wanted to add a house to the scene where they're all standing over here, you could type in house, and it's going to give you some choices. And some of them are scenes, but sometimes you can pull down something like this and just add it to the background without changing your scene. That would be a little bit too nice of a house for Jamestown though. So I'm going to click on the house, and I'm going to press the X. And anytime you click on something and you press the X, it will get rid of it. So I don't like those. Maybe I need a tobacco plant because they grew tobacco. I can type in tobacco, and here is a tobacco plant. And I can put in a bunch of them, and I can change the size of them. Okay, and I can move them around. So you guys will figure a lot of this out on your own as you play around with it. I encourage you to do the basics first, get the characters in your scene and your dialogue and your description done. Okay, so John Rolfe brought tobacco seeds to the colony, and then I would write something else about the tobacco. So I would write more than just that, but that just gives you an idea. So I would start, if I were you guys, on the basic stuff, just basically what needs to be done. Don't add too many extras until you have your description and your dialogue and your scenes all set. And then if you want to start adding extra stuff because you have time, you can go ahead and do that. Make sure you follow the instructions on the rubric so that you have everything you need in there. Don't get distracted by playing with the storyboard and miss stuff. All right, good luck.